Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha with the news, where we take you through what happened across India and the world. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Modi and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi signed comprehensive economic partnership agreement at a virtual summit. Sessions Court sentences 38 convicts to death in 2008 Ahmedabad serial blast case. Life imprisonment till death for 11 others. Campaigning comes to a close for third phase assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Single phase polls in Punjab. Centre notifies green hydrogen policy to boost production of hydrogen and ammonia. And Vladimir Putin to oversee military drills involving Russian special forces. Ukraine alleges shelling on civilian targets. A quick check first at what else made headlines through the day. Prime Minister Modi inaugurates 2 additional railway lines in Maharashtra. Pre-primary schools in Haryana's Ambala reopen. Direct flight inaugurated between Delhi and Khajuraho under Udan scheme. Prime Minister Modi hosts prominent Sikhs across the country at his residence. 56 fishermen detained by Sri Lanka released after centre's intervention. 12 Pakistani prisoners released from Indian jails returned to Pakistan. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar leaves for a 6-day visit to Germany and France. Gujarat lifts night curfew in all places except Ahmedabad and Vadodara. Japan to relax border controls, allow foreign students, business travelers starting March. And second T20 international match between India and West Indies underway in Kolkata. So let's get you details on the big story of the day today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, held a summit-level virtual meeting on Friday. Both nations signed a comprehensive economic partnership agreement to commemorate the bilateral relationship. The agreement targets a growth in trade from $60 billion to $100 billion in the next 5 years. As part of an informal quad with Israel and US, both nations also decided to enhance defense cooperation. A vision document was released outlining future cooperation between the two nations in 10 strategic sectors. India and UAE are already in comprehensive strategic partnership.
हमारे आर्थिक संबंधों में एक नया युग आरंभ होगा और हमारा व्यापार अगले 5 वर्षों में $60 बिलियन से $60 बिलियन से बढ़कर 100 बिलियन, $100 बिलियन तक पहुंच जाएगा। योर हाइनेस, व्यापार, निवेश, ऊर्जा और पीपल टू पीपल संपर्क हमारे सहयोग के स्तंभ रहे हैं। साथ ही कई नई क्षेत्रों में भी हमारा सहयोग बढ़ने की संभावनाएं हैं।
The other headline of the story of the day, a special court pronounced the death sentence on 38 convicts in the 2008 Ahmedabad serial bomb blast case. The remaining 11 were sentenced to life imprisonment till death. On 8 February, the court convicted 49 people in the case that claimed 56 lives and left more than 200 people injured. 28 accused were acquitted by the court. The pronouncement of the quantum of punishment by Judge A.R. Patel came nearly 14 years after the deadly blasts. As many as 21 explosions had ripped through the city on 26th of July 2008 within a span of 70 minutes. The court had concluded the trial against 77 accused last September. Out of the 78 accused on trial, 1 turned approver. The trial started in December 2009 against the people linked to banned terror outfit Indian Mujahideen. In the over 7,000-page judgment, the court termed the case as the rarest of rare. A look now at news and events from across different states. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday inaugurated 2 railway lines connecting Thane and Diva in Maharashtra and also flagged off 2 suburban trains. Speaking via video link, the Prime Minister said his government is committed to improving railway infrastructure in the country. He said infrastructure projects used to drag on earlier due to lack of coordination in planning and execution, but that approach has now changed. With the commissioning of the 2 new lines, 36 additional suburban services will be introduced on the main line of Central Railway, and the air-conditioned local train services will increase from 10 to 44. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Friday reviewed the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir, along with the development initiatives undertaken in the Union Territory. Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Narvane and top security officials of the central government as well as the Union Territory Administration attended this meeting. The Home Minister reviewed the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir, including along the international border and the line of control, according to official sources. Amit Shah also took stock of the progress of the development initiatives taken in the Union Territory. Taking forward the commitment to eliminate single-use plastics, the Environment Ministry has notified comprehensive guidelines on extended producer responsibility, that's the EPR, for plastic packaging. Announcing the notification of the new Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2022 through social media late on Thursday night, Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav said the guidelines provide a framework to strengthen the circular economy of plastic packaging waste and also promote alternatives to plastic. And in the NSC case, the CBI on Friday questioned former CEO of National Stock Exchange Chitra Ramakrishna in view of fresh facts emerging in connection with its ongoing probe into the alleged abuse of co-location facility in the NSC. The Income Tax Department officials searched the premises in Mumbai and other locations owned by Ramakrishna and others. The Uttar Pradesh government told the Supreme Court on Friday that it has withdrawn the 274 notices issued against anti-CAA protesters for recovery of alleged damages prior to the enactment of the Uttar Pradesh Recovery of Damages to Public and Private Property Act 2020. These cases will now be referred to the tribunals constituted under the 2020 Act. And continuing with news from across states, the budget session of the Kerala Legislative Assembly began on Friday. Opposition Congress-led UDF members disrupted the governor's address. They also staged a sit-in after boycotting the proceedings of the House. Polling for the second phase of Odisha Panchayat elections concluded amid tight security. 62 lakh voters exercised their franchise for 186 Zilla Parishad areas, 1,514 Panchayat Samiti areas, and 20,436 wards of panchayats in 68 blocks of the state. The CBI filed a charge sheet against 160 more accused for rigging the pre-medical test of 2013. The accused also include the chairman of 3 private medical colleges in Madhya Pradesh. Charges have been filed against 650 accused in the case so far. The Calcutta High Court dismissed a PIL seeking a direction to the centre to remove West Bengal Governor Jagdeep Dhankar. The bench said, under Article 361 of the Constitution, the governor is not liable to any court for the discharge of his powers and duties. The Supreme Court has sought the response of the CBI as well as the Maharashtra government on the bail plea of Indrani Mukherjee within 2 weeks. Indrani is the main accused in the Sheena Bora murder case. The special court has turned down her bail plea several times. Indian naval warship INS Vishakhapatnam test-fired the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile from the western coast. The warship has been brought to Vishakhapatnam to participate in the President's fleet review on 21st of February. Pre-primary schools in Haryana's Ambala reopened on Friday. The schools had been closed for the last 2 years, remember, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The falling cases of COVID-19 have now prompted the administration to reopen them. West Bengal's Malda Town Railway Station was awarded Silver rating by the Green Building Council of India for eco-friendly campaigns and energy conservation efforts. Many parameters like energy conservation, prevention of water wastage, bio-toilets, etc. were considered. The centre's intervention led to the release of 56 fishermen detained by the Sri Lankan Navy. 47 of them reached Chennai by plane on Friday. The rest have tested positive for COVID-19 and are currently undergoing treatment in Sri Lanka. Also, 12 Pakistani prisoners released from various jails in India were sent to Pakistan through the Attari border. They included 6 fishermen and 6 civilians. 6 of the Pakistanis were jailed in Gujarat, while 3 of them were in prison in Amritsar and 1 each in West Bengal and Jammu and Kashmir. News now from the 5 poll-bound states. Well, campaigning for the third phase in Uttar Pradesh ended on Friday. The polling will take place on Sunday. In the third phase, there are 59 assembly seats in Uttar Pradesh, of which 15 seats are reserved. These districts are Hathras, Kashiram Nagar, Etah, Mainpuri, Firozabad, Farrukhabad, Kannauj, Etawah, Auraiya, Kanpur Dehat, Kanpur City, Jalayu, Hamirpur, Mehoba, Jhansi and Lalitpur. In some other election news, BJP President JP Nadda addressed a public meeting in Ayodhya. He said his party is seeking votes on the basis of ideology and not for individuals. He also had paid his respects to the Ram Lalla at the Ram Janmabhoomi temple. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held Congress, SP and BSP responsible for misrule in the state at an election rally in Mainpuri. He claimed that bulldozers are being repaired now that will demolish the wastages after 10th of March. Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav hit back at BJP's allegation of dynastic politics. Addressing a rally in Jalayu, he said only someone with a family can understand the problems of its members. He also criticized the BJP on issues like inflation, development and demonetization. Shiv Sena leader Priyanka Chaturvedi led a roadshow for the Shiv Sena candidate from Kidwai Nagar Vidhan Sabha constituency of Kanpur. On the last day of campaigning in Punjab, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Punjab Lok Congress President Captain Amrinder Singh held a roadshow in Patiala. Rajnath Singh condemned the Chief Minister's controversial remarks on the people of UP and Bihar. Also, Union Minister Anurag Thakur took part in the election campaign in Punjab. He accused the Congress of breach of promises made to the state public. He also said the state needs a decisive leader. Shiromani Akali Dal's candidate Vikram Singh Majithia took out a roadshow in Amritsar. Majithia is the party's candidate from Amritsar East. News now from the world of business and economy. G20 finance ministers and central bank governors on sustainable financing and infrastructure met for the second day today. The G20 presidency is being held by Indonesia. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman underscored the need to bridge the infrastructure funding gap and developing innovative financing mechanisms for inclusive growth in the sector. She also complimented the efforts to scale up sustainable finance instruments to improve accessibility and also affordability. The centre on Friday notified the green hydrogen policy to boost the production of hydrogen and ammonia using renewable energy. It also announced the waiver of interstate transmission charges for 25 years for manufacturers of hydrogen and ammonia for projects commissioned before the 30th of June 2025. The government will further help producers tap networks of provincial utilities in a non-discriminatory manner. It will also facilitate banking of clean electricity with state distributors for 30 days. a system under which clean power producers can store surplus output with another utility to be used later. The policy is aimed at meeting climate targets and making India a green hydrogen hub. It has a target of producing 5 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030. And time for a short break here, but coming up on the other side, the latest on the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Do stay with us.
Why is international law so important? And what is India's contribution?
India shows an extraordinary example of adhering to the norms of international law. India has been party to a number of multilateral treaties. India has been faithfully executing all its international obligations.
During 60 years of existing, ALCO play a critical role and can be a platform or think tank for the Asian African countries. And also the decision of the ICJ or the judgment of ICJ is very important because it creates a source of international law.
Welcome back. News now from across the world. On to the big global story first. War temperatures still remain high on the Russia-Ukraine border. Russia has announced new drills involving strategic forces on Saturday. Moscow has said Vladimir Putin will himself oversee the operations. The announcement followed charges of shelling by Ukraine that renewed Western fears of an imminent Russian invasion. Here's the latest report.
Reports of shelling across the Ukraine border are raising questions on whether diplomacy is making any headway in the standoff between Ukraine and Russia. The Ukrainian army on Thursday charged that shells hit a kindergarten building on the government-controlled side, wounding 3 civilians and cut power supply to half of the town. On the other hand, separatist authorities in rebel-controlled Luhansk region in the eastern part of the country said the shelling was coming from Ukraine. Ahead of the annual Munich conference, Germany is accusing Russia of putting peace at risk with Cold War-like diplomacy. On Friday, German Defense Minister urged Moscow to take serious steps towards de-escalation of the Ukraine crisis. She also voiced concerns over Russia's massive buildup of military personnel and equipment near its border with Ukraine and in Belarus, effectively encircling Ukraine on 3 sides. Russia has called claims of any imminent invasion baseless and accused the US of stoking tensions. Moscow claims it is conducting military drills and says some troops have been moved back to their permanent bases in recent days. Western powers say they have seen no evidence of a withdrawal. The West rejects the idea that Russia has a right to influence the foreign policy of countries close to its borders, as the Soviet Union did during the Cold War. But Moscow watchers say that Russian President Vladimir Putin is not only determined to keep Ukraine out of the NATO and the ambit of the European Union orbit, but also has a whole host of options to achieve his aim. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Updates from other parts of the globe. Former US President Donald Trump must answer questions under oath in New York State's civil investigation into his business practices. A judge ordered Trump and his 2 eldest children, Ivanka and Donald Trump Jr., to comply with subpoenas issued in December by the New York Attorney General. Trump and his 2 children have been given 21 days to sit for a deposition. The ruling most likely be appealed, but if upheld, could force the former president into invoking the 5th Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mali residents are welcoming the French announcement of troop pullback from their country. In recent days, protesters had rallied against the presence of soldiers from the former colonial power. France and its allies are leaving Mali after almost a decade, fighting Islamist insurgents around West Africa. Mali's government is yet to react to the declaration from French President Emmanuel Macron, but the government sources said the country's security now lay in the hands of its own military forces. US Vice President Kamala Harris arrived in Munich ahead of the annual security conference in the city. The US is trying to keep European allies unified amid growing concern over the threat of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Harris will meet NATO Chief Stoltenberg and hold a multilateral meeting with the leaders of the Baltic states of Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia. She will also meet Ukrainian President Zelensky and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on the Ukraine crisis. Hundreds of truckers clogging the streets of Canada's capital stood their ground and defiantly blasted their horns on Thursday as the police threatened to break up the nearly 3-week-long protest against the country's COVID-19 restrictions. Busloads of police arrived near Ottawa's Parliament Hill and workers put up extra fences around government buildings. The police made at least 3 arrests, but officers did not move in force on the demonstrators. One of the organizers, in fact, was also seen in handcuffs between 2 police officers. Australian authorities are looking for a shark after a swimmer on a Sydney beach died on Wednesday. The swimmer died after being attacked by what witnesses described as a 4.5-meter long white shark. A number of beaches in the area were closed at least for 24 hours. It is the first fatal shark attack in Sydney since 1963. The police searched the coastline and lifeguards in jet skis, but no shark sightings were reported. According to researchers, Australia last year led the world with 3 unprovoked shark-related deaths. And now over to all the sporting action. So let's begin with cricket today. India are taking on the West Indies in the second T20 International at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata. A win today will seal the series for Rohit Sharma's men. Kieran Pollard's Caribbean team are in a must-win situation to keep the series alive. Despite a strong batting lineup, West Indies have been let down by inconsistency, particularly in batting. Indian women lost the one-day series in New Zealand. The home team took an unassailable 3-0 lead in the series. Lauren Downs' unbeaten 64 and her 76-run partnership with Katie Martin for the 7th wicket helped New Zealand beat India by 3 wickets. Batting first, India scored 279. The Kiwi team won with 5 balls to spare. And the Kiwi men's team also are close to a massive victory in the opening test against South Africa. New Zealand took a 387-run lead in the first innings, having blown South Africa away for 95 on the opening day. Henry Nicol struck a century and Tom Blundell missed one by 4 runs as the World Test champions amassed 482. Matt Henry scored 58 not out, batting at number 11 after taking 7 wickets in South Africa's first innings. The tourists were 34 for 3 in their second innings at close of day 2. Australia's bowlers strangled Sri Lanka before a middle overs batting masterclass from Josh Ingley and Glenn Maxwell rescued the home side from a precarious position to post a comfortable 6-wicket win at the MCG and go 4-0 up in the 5-match T20I series. Sri Lanka set Australia a target of 140. The Kangaroos slumped to 3 for 49 before Ingley's stroke of 40 and Maxwell a classy 48 not out. In football news, Ferran Torres scored a penalty to give Barcelona a draw in their Europa League first leg clash against Napoli at Camp Nou. Zelensky had put Napoli ahead, scoring a well-taken first-half goal. In another match, German Bundesliga team Borussia Dortmund was stunned 2-4 by Scottish club Rangers at Dortmund. Moving to badminton now, India's campaign at the Badminton Asia Team Championships ended after the men's and women's teams failed to advance to the knockout round. While the men's team lost 2-3 to 3-time defending champions Indonesia, the women's side were hammered 1-4 by Japan. And before we end the bulletin, a quick relook at the headlines. Prime Minister Modi and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi signed comprehensive economic partnership agreement at a virtual summit. Sessions Court sentences 38 convicts to death in 2008 Ahmedabad serial blast case, life imprisonment till death for 11 others. Campaigning comes to a close for third phase assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh, single phase polls in Punjab. The government notifies green hydrogen policy to boost production of hydrogen and ammonia. And Vladimir Putin to oversee military drills involving Russian special forces. Ukraine, meanwhile, alleges shelling on civilian targets. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks very much for your time.